France, mid-16th century, around 1560 AD. To the world outside these walls, Christmas is marked by bells, feasts, and public mass. But for Teresa, Christmas is something far more perilous and profound. It is not merely a celebration of Christ's birth. It is a spiritual battlefield. A day when heaven bends close to earth, and when, she believed, divine protection could be drawn near or dangerously neglected. Teresa has learned this through years of inner conflict, mystical visions, illness, and relentless spiritual warfare. She knows that Christmas is not a day to relax one's guard. It is a day to act with intention, humility, and courage. If you were standing in that cold convent chapel beside Teresa on Christmas morning, would you have understood the danger she sensed? Or would you have treated the day as only a celebration? Comment below and tell us what you think. And don't forget to like and follow for more historical, spiritual stories like this. Teresa was born in 1515, at the dawn of a turbulent century. Spain stood as the spearhead of Catholic Christendom, yet beneath its triumph lay deep anxiety about heresy, sin, divine judgment, and the fragility of the human soul. The Inquisition loomed, Protestant ideas crept across borders, and mystics like Teresa walked a thin line between reverence and suspicion. To speak of visions was dangerous. To claim intimacy with God invited scrutiny. Yet Teresa could not deny what she experienced. By the time she reached her 40s, Teresa had endured years of illness that left her paralyzed, unable to walk or even speak clearly. She had known distraction in prayer, guilt over worldly attachments, and fear that her soul was lukewarm, neither cold nor aflame. And it was precisely in this struggle that Christmas Day revealed itself to her as a turning point again and again. In her writings, Teresa speaks not of Christmas sentimentality, but of 3 sacred actions practiced deliberately on this holy day, which she believed drew divine protection over the soul like armor. The first was radical humility before the infant Christ. On Christmas morning, Teresa did not rush through prayer. She lingered. She placed herself, imaginatively, painfully, before the helplessness of God made flesh. She contemplated the paradox, the creator of the universe unable to lift his own head, shivering in poverty. This meditation was not comforting. It was unsettling. She felt her pride exposed, her ambitions stripped bare. How could she seek honor, comfort, or recognition when God himself had chosen obscurity? Teresa believed that pride was the crack through which spiritual danger entered. And Christmas, more than any other day, demanded humility as a shield. She wrote that when the soul bows low before the infant Christ, heaven bends down in return. Could you kneel before such humility without feeling your own life questioned? Share your thoughts in the comments and follow the channel if stories like this stir something deeper in you. But humility alone was not enough. The second act Teresa practiced on Christmas Day was renewal of total surrender, a deliberate offering of her will to God. In a century where obedience defined religious life, Teresa's surrender went further. She did not merely obey rules, she surrendered outcomes, desires, even her fear of deception. Christmas reminded her that God had already surrendered first, emptying himself into human vulnerability, and so Teresa responded in kind. She renewed her vows interiorly. She spoke aloud, even when alone, offering her body, her health, her reputation, her future foundations, and her very soul to God's disposal. This was not poetic language. It was a conscious relinquishing of control, and it terrified her. Teresa knew that surrender invited trials. She had already faced accusations, internal dryness, and the haunting fear that her visions might be illusions. Yet she believed that divine protection did not come from safety, but from belonging completely to God. In her words, "The devil has no power over a soul that keeps nothing for itself. Would you dare surrender everything, especially on a day meant for joy and comfort?" Tell us below if you think true protection comes from surrender or resistance. The third action Teresa performed on Christmas Day was the most mysterious: active love through concrete sacrifice. While others celebrated with special meals or rest, Teresa sought out small acts of hidden charity, chores taken from tired sisters, patience with difficult temperaments, silent endurance of discomfort. She believed that love made visible in action sealed the soul against spiritual harm. This belief did not arise from theory, but from experience. On one Christmas Day, weakened by illness, Teresa forced herself to remain present with her community rather than retreat into solitude. That night, she recorded a profound interior peace, what she described as a gentle guarding presence, as though unseen hands surrounded her. She became convinced that love enacted, not merely felt, invited divine guardianship. Do you believe small sacrifices can carry spiritual weight? Comment below. And if this story is resonating, support the channel with a like. Yet these practices were forged in conflict. Teresa lived in constant tension between mystical ecstasy and crushing doubt. She feared deception. She feared pride. She feared that her experiences might lead others astray. Christmas intensified these fears because it magnified the closeness of God. In one account, Teresa describes kneeling before the Nativity and suddenly being overwhelmed, not with warmth, but with fear. Fear that she loved the gifts of God more than God himself. Fear that she sought consolation rather than obedience. She wept, and in that weeping, she felt protected, not removed from fear, but upheld within it. This is the paradox Teresa offers us. Divine protection is not the absence of struggle. It is presence within it. Christmas Day for her was a reminder that God entered danger willingly, into a violent world, into human frailty. Protection, then, did not mean escape, but fidelity. As the years passed, Teresa reformed the Carmelite order, founded convents amid opposition, and endured suspicion from church authorities. Yet she returned to these three Christmas practices year after year, believing they fortified her soul. Humility before God's littleness, total surrender of will, love proven through sacrifice. By the time of her death in 1582, Teresa had become one of the most influential spiritual figures in Christian history. But she never lost sight of that quiet Christmas candle flickering against stone walls. If Saint Teresa was speaking to us now, she would not promise comfort. She would promise guarding grace, earned not by perfection, but by intentional devotion. So as the bells of Christmas echo across centuries, her question remains: what will you do on the day God draws nearest? If this story challenged your understanding of Christmas, let us know in the comments. Follow the channel for more cinematic historical stories, and may the lessons of Saint Teresa linger with you long after the candle fades.